Woo!
Oh yeah!
Hey, Boat Bros. We
Let's
here.
go.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We're ready. We're ready, man.
We ready.
You know, it's funny. I counted down the amount of Sundays till we see football again, dude. And I think it's either 12 or 13 Sundays from now we'll have football back. So
nice.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
Hey, that ain't so far away. I like the way that you think there, bro.
Yeah. It's just like the meme, dude. You just sit here and think about it every single day, being in that stadium, man. And you know, I'm just, gosh, man, I want to be at a football game, dude. Oh man, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So Alpha Man, let's answer your first question here real quick. Who's the oldest? That's me. Oldest, best looking, smartest, wisest, all the above.
Old gray bush over here.
Gray beard over here.
Gray beard.
Sounds like a transformer when he gets up out of the couch, you know.
That's right. What was it? Optimus not so prime? Optimus not so prime?
Optimus not in his prime. I tell you what. Older the berry, sweeter the juice. Just got to remember that, okay? Older the berry, sweeter the juice. It is what it is.
Oh, boy.
That's something for the ladies there.
That's great.
Well, we got a good show for you guys today. We were thinking a lot about what we wanted to talk about, but, you know, the schedule comes out, Thursday is when it actually drops.
Yeah,
that's when they're stating, but it's like they haven't solidified it yet. I would assume tomorrow they would make an announcement on it, though. They didn't give it official, but
yeah. But we're excited because, you know, last year we had that whole video that came out, right? And you know, it was pretty solid, kind of clowning on the teams who were playing around the league. I thought it was just awesome. I'd say right now the Chargers got like the best media group period from what I could tell. I love the content they put out. So here's actually the schedule, the opponents that we are looking at, but we wanted to kind of go through what we think could be primetime games and what games could be the big, Monday nights and all the above. Right. So you look at that schedule though, folks, that's pretty rough. I mean, ain't none of those teams are weak,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
hey,
it's a lot of cold teams too.
Yes,
all of our away games are all like a lot of cold climates over there. So I'm like, oh boy.
Well, we got Detroit, right? It's so cold in the D.
Well, that's at home.
That's
though,
what I want to be. Yeah. That stupid song. Yeah. Hey, and Aether, thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. My cruise was awesome. Went to Vancouver, kind of interesting. Saw a lot of things I didn't expect to see up there. But it was awesome being on a great ship. So it was a good time. Thank you.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that, bro. Like, I mean, yeah, I heard a couple things, but yeah, tell me about your experience.
Yeah, well, it was just really fun being on a cool ship, right? It was a good time. A little different because I was in LA with you for the Charger party, right?
Yep.
And then I hopped right on the ship, and it was a straight shot all the way to Vancouver for 4 days. And there's some pros and cons to that, right? You want to be on a cool ship. We had a good time, but yeah, Vancouver was kind of sad though. I was a little disappointed with what I saw. I mean, there was a lot of homelessness and drug use right out in the open. I know you see that a little bit, Kyle, at Skid Row in LA, but not to get too political here, guys, but man, it was just so sad to see, people open using, heroin and hardcore drugs, guys. And
right.
So, it was just a sad end to an awesome cruise, right? I guess, probably the best way of saying it, but overall I thought it was amazing. Vancouver's a beautiful city, minus the sadness of the homeless population there. So, we could talk a lot more about that offline.
But I mean, it kind of segues into a little bit something that I did too, because I mean, I was with the Chargers. We did the beach cleanup a little bit.
Oh, you did? That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Just yesterday, and that was pretty sweet. And of course, I did find a couple of needles and some some foil, like that. So it's like, of course, people doing drugs on the beach is kind of a constant thing too, basically here in LA. So, I mean, it was just wild. But then funnier thing, not to take it away from the darkness, is that I found two dead birds. 2 dead birds on the beach. And it was really fun. So I packed that into my little bag or whatever like that, and I kind of was just carrying it back. And then it's one of us, the duck feet, the feet was dangling out of the bag, like that. And so and then I brought it to the girl to weigh it. She was like, is there a dead bird in there? I was like,
2 of them. Not 1, 2.
Oh, I don't think that counts. It's kind of like, and I was like, well, I've been carrying this for a while. So, I mean, can you weigh it? And I'll put it in the garbage. She's like, oh, sure. Cause there was a competition, about how much, our team can get in garbage or whatever like that. And if you got it, then, the top 3 teams won something. So she was weighing it. And then she was like, it really is just got it real quick. Okay, 10 pounds, and she just got it really quick.
Yeah, don't need that.
That's so funny.
Don't need
so
that.
funny.
That's great.
Oh, it was really funny.
Did any of Charger players show up there, or is it just kind of more just a community kind of thing?
There was some Charger players there. I didn't really catch their name. They didn't really announce who it was.
Okay.
So
got it.
I think he was more of a legendary player though. That showed up. So yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe they announced who he was when I was actually out collecting stuff, or whatever. But
picking up dead birds.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
But cool thing was though too that these little girls they did it, and they actually won the competition because I guess they found some area that had just a bunch of old wet clothes and stuff, and so they took multiple trips and just turned it in. Yeah, I was like, we were all kind of laughing at it because it was they collected 100 pounds or something like that, and but they were like, I don't think that either one of them weigh 100 pounds. So it's
no doubt.
So it's funny.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
That's
good to give back a little bit, Kyle.
Yeah,
that's a big part of it too. And again, guys, for those of you who don't know us and maybe just joining in, we like to give back to the community as much as possible. I actually work with people that struggle with addiction. It's just kind of a side sort of community service thing that I do. And, so I think that's partially why the Vancouver thing kind of tugged at my heartstrings a little bit, and it's really hard seeing people that way. Right. I know we talk football on this channel, but it's people too that's important, right? And we want to communicate with Charger fans and NFL fans in general, right? So, little eye opening, something to kind of remember that life doesn't revolve around football all the time, but it's also people are out there hurt, So give back to your communities if you can, guys. I think that's a big part of what I think we're trying to get at this point. So, well, good. Maybe we should go into the schedule. I know James had some thoughts on this quite a bit. I know you wanted to bring up an article, I guess, or talk specifically about some of these things that are going to be prime time. I think definitely the Chiefs games are going to be definitely prime time. They'll be Sunday nights, Monday nights for sure, no matter what. But I know there's some discussions around international too. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough thing because, I remember last year everybody was saying, and we were all saying, oh, all the AFC West games are going to be prime time.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of shaken up a little bit. But, the Chiefs games are always going to be a great game. You're guaranteed you're probably going to get one of those at least at prime time Thursday night or like a Monday night game or Sunday night game against the Chargers. But the one thing that I'm kind of hearing and I'm thinking, and even when I saw the schedule, the away game versus the Titans, I think is going to be in London week 6.
Yeah.
I feel really, really confident that's going to happen because it's been a while since the Chargers been out in London. It kind of makes sense that they would play them out there. It's kind of like two teams that haven't been out there for a while. I think last time the Titans were there was 2018.
Yeah.
I think the Chargers were probably around the same time too, I think. I think Drew Brees was still the quarterback for the Saints. I think Phillip Rivers still was our quarterback at that time. So I want to say that's going to be the game that I think will end up going international for the Chargers this year. And now, once again, the 11th is when they're talking about releasing the schedule. I don't think they've solidified it yet because I think there's been some adjustments, I think, a little bit from what I'm hearing from rumors.
Yeah.
And I think it has a lot to do with the Jets because they've made a lot of moves, got Aaron Rodgers, and I think they want to give the Jets I think they want to give the Jets like 6 primetime games or something, which would that fit for the Chargers? I'm not sure. But that will be an interesting one to see. But if you really look at all these opponents, there's so many of these games that could be primetime games. Like a ton of these. Like, what if we play like Dallas on Thanksgiving or something like that? Like, that's totally possible.
Yeah, the turkey game, right? It's usually always Dallas and Detroit, man.
Yeah,
this is a rough schedule, guys. You look at this again. We don't know what the schedule is actually going to play out as, but these are the opponents, and it's going to be tough. And I think you're right, Larry. I think the Bills will definitely be prime time for sure.
Yeah.
Chargers, Bills. Man, I tell you, so maybe we should talk in the chat, guys. I know that we got a fair number of people in here. What do you think the record of the Chargers are going to be? We could talk a little bit more about that as well too. Are you thinking 10-7? And then in the chat, what are your guys' thoughts on the actual season ending? I will tell you, I think we're going to end up being pretty good this year, right? I'm really excited about Kellen Moore. You can tell. You guys watched his latest video on YouTube, correct? When he had some media time after the draft. He's clearly going to build a very specific offense for this team, and I think we're going to distribute the ball a lot this year. And so, pure mustard, 11-6. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I can see that one for sure.
Look, the NFL's hard, man. And every team, it's tough. 11-6 makes sense to me. I think that would probably be my prediction right now.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of, I'm always looking at the trajectory of what we have been for the last 2 years under Brandon Staley, right. And it's always like a game better every single year that we end up having as an ending team. And the thing about it is we've picked up some really, really good players. At least a very deep team in general since the draft, and then current players that we have on the team this year. So I do think that 11-6 probably makes the best sense for me at best. Aether's over here bringing heat, saying 13-4, 5-1 in the West.
Woo, I'd love that.
Man, yo,
donkey punch them hoes. That's what we doing.
Yeah, that would require at least a split with KC to even do that.
Yeah,
that would require a split for us to be able to have at the minimum. But I think it's kind of an 11-6 type of schedule, in my opinion. The thing about it is like 2013 can't be. All these teams are not the same by 2022 standards. 2022 is a totally different team, totally different everything. 2023, totally different team at this point. Even say, Denver, they obviously got Sean Payton there. They've been just doing a lot of build of their O-line. I don't think their wide receiver corps got really that much any better or anything like that. There's just a lot of newness to it. Not saying Sean Payton can't really bring any heat or anything like that. But I think that's just a different team all around. The Raiders, 100%. I think, are going to be the Ray Turds next year still.
Yet again. Yes.
I don't think they're going to be anything. But, you know, the Dolphins had a lot of fallout last year. They struggled to even get consistency on that team. The Bills will be the Bills. I think they're there.
Yep.
The Bears are really trying to figure out how to make a team, pretty much.
Yeah.
Lions, that whole NFC North is kind of an interesting division because now you don't have, you know, Aaron Rodgers now with Green Bay, and they're all hyping up Jordan Love. Oh, he's a totally different guy now. Like, he's going to be the man this year, kind of thing. You know what? We don't even know. You don't know that. Like,
we don't know.
Yep. This is his first year. He's probably going to end up having like a Trey Lance situation where they're going to hype him up. He gets injured first game, and then they're going to have to figure it out from there. But that's just how the season goes. The season could be just completely unpredictable what happens with any of these teams. And I'm definitely not going to dictate on what I think last year's team was to this year. I mean, any of these teams could be great. Any of these teams could have an injury that could just throw off their complete season. So it's a long season ahead, but I think personally I'm going to stick with the 11-6 type schedule.
11-6 makes sense.
I'm going to take a little bit more of a pessimistic side on that and say 10-7. You know, I'm going to just say that we're going to keep it the same because I mean we're playing opponents this year that were all, you know, twos essentially of the second in their division for the most part. And obviously like the Ravens, they still got Lamar Jackson, and now the Jets have Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know. I mean, I think we're going to stomp on the Raiders now, but I'm actually concerned that the Broncos, the Broncos might actually have their stuff together this year a little bit more. They still gave up quite a bit still for, freaking dangerous. But
Danger Witch.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that guy's a train wreck.
Yeah, he is. But and I'm just like, I think that 10-7 is still gonna be there, and but I think we can still make it to the playoffs though with 10-7 records. So that's just kind of my theories here. So
I think that's good. REM asked a really great question. And James, did you do you haven't done a video on our new trainer that we have currently, right? Because I know we say it every year, guys, right? We just got to stay healthy. And I don't understand like how we consistently lead the league in being injured. But yes, we have a whole new training staff, REM. And so again, I don't know a whole lot about them. I probably should do a little more, digging into them. Maybe we should do a video on it next week. James, you and I, or something of that nature. Because look, I have said this consistently, right? If we could just keep our stinking players healthy, I mean, depth only goes so far, right? But my God, how many damn injuries did we have last season, right? And we'll probably talk more about the draft and I think why we drafted the players we did. I know a lot of people were, even at the barbecue, Kyle, that we talked to, everyone were very disinterested in the draft class that we did this year. I think it was a perfect draft class. Yeah. Like it was a nothing burger, right? Yeah. And I didn't see it that way. I saw it as really grabbing a lot of depth and a lot of, we need people to step up. What if Mac and Bosa both go out this year? Well, we got Rumph and probably Thule now at this point. That's it.
Right.
And that sucks, right? We we want those and that's what, $50 million? No, it's not $50 million. How much is Mac and Bosa getting paid this year? I mean, crazy money.
$60 million towards the cap, I believe.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
And so it's anyway. So it's something for us to discuss. Kyle, my baby, you're crazy. 10-7.
hey, man. Other people would say you crazy for saying 13 and was it 13
and 4,
5-1 in the West? Man, that's crazy talk right there.
Well, but look, I mean, look, anything could happen, right? I think the Chargers, again, if we could stay healthy, think of it this way, guys.
True.
We'll have 5 wide receivers that are solid.
Yeah.
Allen, Williams,
Quentin Johnston,
Q. Darius
Davis. Yeah.
I mean, guys, I think Darius is going to be amazing. Maybe we should start talking a little bit about the draft. I know Larry asked a question. Did the Chargers draft an O-line? We did. We got a guy, McFadden. He is freaking sick.
Big dude.
I'm hyped on him, dude. Oh, wait. What did I do with that screenshot? All right, let me pull it up here, Size. Let me drop this off. I don't know what I did. Let me pull it up here. But yeah, I mean, I'm telling you right now, we picked up a lot of depth on this O-line. I mean, well, just one person, but I think he's really going to be good. So let's just go through the actual draft class a little more, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I was going to say something about the schedule, though. Like, the thing about it is, I know we're kind of jumping over to the draft, but at the same side with the schedule, I was going to ask everybody too, who do you think is going to be week 1 opponent? And because I generally always think it always starts with the AFC West, usually a divisional game. I mean, last year it was against the Raiders. Yeah. And Kyle's video of yelling out all the Raider players and everything, it got a lot of love and a lot of hate from them Raider fans.
Of course.
But
they salty.
Yeah, I think it would be great. And I actually did see some schedule leak predictions or whatnot. It's more predictions than anything that we're going to play the Broncos week 1. So, and that makes sense because I'm thinking in my head, I don't think I've seen us play the Broncos week 1 for a really long time. It seems like it's always been Raiders Broncos first week. And then last year that we obviously played the Raiders to start the season out too. Right. So I would be okay with that to be able to just get a week 1 start against the Broncos. I would like to be able to see that one. So I don't know, just thinking of you guys in the chat there too. Who do you guys want for week 1? I think it'd be really fun to be able to see, I think, the Broncos week 1, just because they got the renewed coaching staff and all that kind of stuff too. So I think that would be a fun one to be able to see for week 1.
Yeah.
And who knows? Yeah. And Jesus, I'm not sure if we have a home opener for week 1 yet. The schedule won't be officially, well, they're stating that it's going to be May 11th that the schedule will be out, but there's no rock solid date that's going to happen 100%. So
yeah, right. So I know one of the questions was, I actually think you're right. I'd love to see the Chiefs as our week 1 because we're really the only team that I think that can actually push the Chiefs. Unfortunately, they play fairly well.
Yeah,
but look, I'm excited with Kellen Moore. I think Kellen Moore, he's the one thing I will say about Kellen Moore specifically is that in fact, if you watch his interview and you should go back and watch that. I mean, I think he released it like a week ago, maybe. He's going to move the ball downfield. Everything is going to be past the sticks. Every single play does not matter. There might be a drag route. There might be someone underneath, just sort of a check down, and then you'll have the running back obviously go to the flat. But everything is going to be vertical, and that's just wasn't what we did with Justin Herbert last season. Lombardi's offense was not that. It was moving the chains. It was playing keep away. So how do you guys want to do this as far as the draft class? Should we just all go through this? And guys, what again, I know we already talked about the draft class last week, but we've had another week to discuss it. I at least wanted to bring it up and have a general discussion with you folks. We've had a lot of time to learn about these guys and what we think. Again, I still would say we have a B+ rating on this draft class. James, Kyle, what do you think? Has your ratings changed or gone up or down at this point?
No, my ratings stay the same. I said a solid. I said a solid B for overall for it. Because I mean, because like I said, we did everything that I thought that we needed to do with our first 2 picks. But of course, we just didn't do the players that we all had our hearts set on.
100%.
Which is totally fine. I mean, we're not the decision makers on this thing, So, and obviously, there's a lot of things of value to take from Quentin Johnston and Thule, and so I see them actually as really stellar choices for our first 2 picks for sure, and then that they fill an immediate need, and then on top of that, Dayan Henley fills an immediate need as well. Because
Murray's 5th-year contract, right?
Yeah, because Murray's gone, going to be gone soon, and Drew Tranquil's is already gone. And honestly, we filled a lot of needs. I think in a lot of ways, I think Jordan McFadden picking it as an offensive guard was probably the least needs filling position. But then again, getting an offensive lineman injured late in the season is horrible, because it really screws a lot of things up. And that happens every once in a while. So, overall, like, I mean, solid B though, like, because none of these players were on anyone's radar at all. It seems like,
yeah, they weren't.
So,
James, what are your thoughts?
This is just a big draft, in my opinion, just to fill gaps for not just this year, but also for next year. Big time for next year. So I look at it like probably what we'll get out of these guys. Quentin Johnston will probably be the guy that gets the most play on this in this position, or at least out of this draft for this year. Thule will be one of those guys that I think it's kind of more. I hate even saying it, Joey Bosa to get injured, and then you're putting in Thule kind of thing. So he could get some good play, but I think Dayan actually, man, I'll say first three guys are going to be the dudes that get the most play this year, in my opinion. And I'm not saying they're going to get like full-time 17 starts or anything like that. It's going to be, there'll be a nice blend of be able to be on-field kind of guys. Darius Davis is going to be just our kick returner guy. And I'm most excited about him because he brings a great speed element to the offense, plus also the kick return game. He's taken 5 to the house, and he's got crazy speed. And by the way, I saw one of his interview. He said he really off-field stuff. He likes to play pickleball. And I was like, oh, dude, have a speedy guy like that you're playing pickleball against? Oh, man. That would be wild.
James, we got to hit him up, dude. We got to play doubles, dude.
We got to play some doubles against Darius. We'll show you what's up, dude. We'll show you what's up, dude.
Yeah. You can't take care of the pickle bros. Pickle bros you're going to go down for the pickle bros.
But I do think that this is a good, solid draft all around, just for not just this year, adding depth pieces for this year, because our wide receiver core is actually really, really good. We have probably now 6 pretty solid wide receivers on our team. So we have like a team A, team B, team C pretty much on our wide receiving core. That's all really good, that all add very good depth to us. Now, the one thing I'm going to say, and with Dayan Henley, I think he's going to be an absolute dog for our team because I think that I think he adds like an awesome personality to the team. I think he brings a need for our linebacking positions because we don't really have a lot of depth to that position. And I think he's going to end up being a very, very big player for us for years to come. Thule, to me, is kind of one of those guys that a lot of people talk about, that he's a lot faster on film and on field, I should say. And I think he's going to add such a really, really good depth piece for us and a needed piece for us at the edge position for us. Scott Matlock's coming out for Souls. And, the more I learn a little bit about this guy, the tenacity of this guy, nastiness of this guy, I think he's going to bring a lot of, a little bit more violence at our D-line, in my opinion. I'm stoked to be able to see him out there. He said he's coming for souls and grown men's jobs. So let's see what happens here, But I like it. I think it's a really good draft. I don't think I'm changing on my grade by any means. I think it's all the same, still in that B kind of range. I think it's great. It's good for us for this year, for them to be on field. It's going to be bigger for them to be kind of positions of starting for us next year. So I think it's a really good draft. Very good.
So
draft.
I'm going to do I'm going to do a video series on our draft class here. So just kind of some short form videos. And then I'm also going to talk about undrafted free agents. We could probably even talk about undrafted free agents as well. I pulled up another article we should probably discuss. Jared Clark. That guy's all butt and gut. I think he has a pretty good shot at making it, especially with all the injuries we've had on the defensive line. So let me give you my take on just a real quick snippet on my series that I want to do. I've thought about this quite a bit. I would have done it, but I was on a cruise ship all last week with horrible internet and all the above. But Q, again, he wasn't someone on my radar, but I'll tell you what, man, that guy, the more I've learned about him, his yards after catch, he's going to be explosive. I think he's a great pickup. Mike Williams, again, I made the joke that if Mike Williams and Keenan can somehow come together, consummate, and have a baby, it would be Q. Right. And he has both traits, right? He can play the slot. He's a little raw in a few areas, but route running can be improved. Thule, I think he's young. Dude's 20 years old. 20 years old.
Yep.
It's crazy.
So he's going to make some mistakes, but he plays nasty, man. He's nasty. Deion, man, hilarious dude. Watch his interviews. Funny guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he will be great. I think he's a better athletic version of Drew Tranquil. I think Drew Tranquil missed a lot of things. I think Deion is very good middle linebacker. Darius Davis is going to be amazing. Special team, punt returner, kick returner, but I think he's also going to be sort of a trick play type of guy. We're going to run some sweeps with him. Yep. So let me just stop there for a second. I want to answer the one question that who was it here way in the back asking
Darius
about
Davis. He's straight up going to be Lightning Bug 2.0, man.
Lightning Bug. No, I think that's a perfect. Something about what do we think Kellen Moore is going to do in this offense? Again, we're going to go more vertical.
Oh yeah.
So Darius Davis, Q, and also Guyton are really going to be stretching the field, which is great because that'll open up the middle of the field a lot more, which I think is awesome. And, so bottom line, I think, Deion's going to do a lot for special teams. He's all special teams guy, probably get some field play a little bit. Davis will definitely be the stretch guy with Guyton. I think offensively, you're going to see a lot of rotations of our wide receivers as well, too. Since we have so many, I can see very interesting sets, right, where Q will most likely be on one side, then you'll have Williams on the other, and then you might have Davis in the middle in the slot, or you might have Allen in the slot, or you might have Palmer in the slot.
Yep.
I think there's a lot of time that some of our players are going to be sitting and resting. As old as we are in wide receiver, I think they want to keep people fresh for the fourth quarter to be ready.
Yeah,
I know it's a bit of a long-winded thing, but I think that's really a big part of what's going to happen with Kellen Moore. We're probably going to see more Horvath. We're going to see a lot more interesting formations and sets, which is pretty cool.
Please, I hope we see more Horvath. God,
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And again, and Davis was also the fastest guy in the draft. I don't know if you guys know that. Everyone, like myself included, we're enamored with Zay Flowers, but we got a very fast, tall guy in Q. But then we got the fastest guy in the draft with Darius Davis. So when we start talking about stretching the field, we're in good hands now, boys. Right? We really are. Now, the last three, we'll talk about really quickly. Jordan McFadden, I think that guy is 3,000 snaps in college, up and down the line. He can play any position. He's a good backup. Any injuries pop in, he could be the guy that steps in. Matlock is a dog. He was a good team guy. I think team captain on the defensive side of the ball. What do they call him? The leprechaun or the Viking leprechaun, whatever you want to call him.
They call him more.
Viking's probably a little bit more politically correct and nice.
I've heard people on Twitter calling him the War Daddy because he had because when he got drafted, he had the like the Viking braids going on.
Exactly.
Fully. Yep. And he's going to be wearing 99 too. And for some reason, I keep thinking of Igor Olshansky.
Yeah, Olshansky. I remember that. Yes.
And I keep thinking, oh man, maybe he's going to be like an Igor Olshansky for us, kind of thing. Like, but I like what he's talking about. Like, hey, I'm here to take grown man's job, and I'm here to take souls. Like, let's do it. Like, let's go. Take a lot of Raiders players' souls. I'm good with that. Let's do it. Let's be tough out there. And I like to be able to see a guy that wants to be able to take his game to the next level and really be a tough player. So. What was crazy about Scott, though, and I'm sorry I'm cutting you off a little bit on this, Andy, but I think it might have been Kyle that sent it over to us, but it was like the metrics of Scott Matlock's, pro day would put him at like the top defensive tackle in this draft based upon his shuttle drills, 40, strength, like all of these different things. He would be I think he was either considered the top defensive tackle in the draft based upon his metrics. So, pretty big that we got him in the 7th round or 6th round. And to be able to get a guy like that could be just an absolute beast for this team. So I'm excited about him. Yeah.
And I think it was projected to go right around that area, maybe a little lower, maybe a 7th round pick. But anyways, I think it'd be really interesting to see how that plays out. I like the pick. Again, he's a depth guy. I think Gerard Clark actually could be somebody that could go. A lot of people had Gerard at like 5th round. And, the fact that we got him as an undrafted free agent was pretty amazing. So we can talk a little bit about him as well too. But guess who picked Max Duggan? I did. Now
you did.
Yeah,
I did. When we were live, it was largely because I thought, you know what? I remember Tom Telesco saying he wants 3 to 4 quarterbacks in camp. I like that idea because you're pushing people. And the thing is, like at the end of the day, guys, Max Duggan knows Darius Davis and Quentin Johnson, right? There is some, understanding there. Plus, Max has done it. They went to a national championship game. They had an amazing season, so he's a winning quarterback. Are you guys seeing a pattern? None of these guys went to small schools. They went to good schools that have had production, and they are good team leaders, good locker room guys. They are people that they want in that locker room. And we drafted a lot of undrafted free agents, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I am shocked at how many we drafted.
Yep.
Look, so maybe we should ask the chat, why did we draft so many undrafted free agents? My thought is it's going to push the veterans, right? And it also could free up some money. We might say, hey, look, Roundtree, you didn't cut the mustard, man. This undrafted free agent's kicking butt, and you've not done much for us, so we can let you go and free up some cap space, right? And so, that could happen. Anyways, that's kind of my thought. What are your thoughts on why we drafted so many undrafted free agents as well? And again, in the chat, what do you guys think?
Well, we got a lot of needs for more depth, and I mean, the thing about it is like somebody was talking about Kyle was saying he's talking about the undrafted free agent running backs. I mean, we got a couple running backs there, Elijah Dotson being one of them, who, I did a whole video on the offense and the defense too. So there's a lot of guys there that could be good fills for us. Like Elijah Dotson has kind of that Austin Ekeler kind of size.
Yep.
He does have the ability to catch and run. He does have the ability that he could block. He does have a factor of being in special teams. There is a lot of guys out there that could be really good. Pokey Wilson too, from Florida State. Yep. That guy's, I loved watching his film and the catches that he made. I mean, this adds another speedy kind of guy to this team. Now, once again, these aren't guys that, I mean, some of them will find a way on the team. I mean, training camp, anything happens, but these are all guys that we did pick up that are really good. Tyler Hoosman from North Dakota, 6 foot, 215. He's more of just a straight running back. Not really much of a pass catcher. Did get a little bit more catches in his last season with North Dakota, transferring from northern Iowa. But we got some really good dudes out there. And then everybody's really big about Andrew Farmer being another guy, Jared Clark being another guy. Yep. I mean, look at that gut right there, dude. He's hanging.
Gut, dude, that guy,
he looked nasty.
Nasty.
Yep.
But I mean, people are excited about it. And I mean, butt and gut is what you need in the middle of the D line. And I think that's one of those guys that could be another guy could fill a need for us. I mean, I'm excited about him. Who plays? And they play pickleball even better.
Oh,
that's
man.
what I'm talking about.
Sport, guys. It's a great sport. Come on now. It's fun.
Fastest growing sport in America. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. And well said, Rich, right? At the end of the day, I think he can make any wide receiver look good, right? I mean, Q has a lot of learning to do, right? He's not 100% there, right? He's good. He's got talent, but nobody's going to be perfect coming out of college. But I will say this, I think Q will do well, but he'll do well over time. And Herbert's going to make him look amazing. But I think if I have a pick, this guy, Gerard Clark, this boy right here, dude, this button gut dude from Coastal, I think he's got a good shot. As long as there's some injury concerns, I think that's partially why he slipped the way he did. But, he's got some game, man. I mean, I think it's hilarious that he wears the number 15 too. I don't know why that's so funny.
Such a weird number, right?
It's a position, when I see 15, I think of a wide receiver or like a quarterback or something. I'm like, look at this dude gut right here, man.
Running back, maybe, yeah.
So funny.
Oh man. Yeah. So I don't know. So again, I think it's going to be a good thing. And REM, exactly. I think, they're good kids, man. Texas Christian University, right? It's hard to get into that school, and usually good character guys. And Max Dugan, I think, is one of those guys. I mean, he can surprise people, man. We'll see what happens. Who knows?
But it was interesting that Kellen Moore talked about when Quentin Johnston was available. He was like, I was stunned that he was available at 21 for us. Yeah. And they must have really had a big eye on this guy and thinking like, there's no way he's going to get a 21 for us, and they found a way to be able to get there. So, I think Kellen Moore was pretty ecstatic about getting that opportunity to be able to have his first round pick wide receiver in the first time having the offense through the Chargers and have a guy that's going to be able to build into his system. So one thing I wanted to point out about the draft, I mean, we got some undrafted, cornerbacks in the draft, but we never really went after a drafted cornerback in the draft. And I pointed out that we didn't go after a running back, obviously. We feel pretty good about our running backs. We only decided to go undrafted on that. We didn't really go for any safeties. We did get some undrafted safeties. we didn't go after a cornerback. So it's like those are oddly everybody was like, we need to get Bijan. I'm forgetting his name now just because I'm not thinking about it anymore. Bijan Robinson. Because we need a running back, and we don't go for a running back at all through the draft other than through undrafted. We don't do that for a cornerback when you got J.C. Jackson with a bad knee kind of thing. We don't go for a safety after we don't have Nazir Adderley. But guess what? We feel pretty good about who we have in the locker room in those positions. So we're just kind of running with it. And so who knows? I mean, one of these undrafted guys could find a way on the team. And, we obviously got a lot of positions of need on the practice squad too. So who knows? I was going to bring up the screenshot based upon a short little interview on TMZ. If you guys saw this, how J.C. Jackson was chatting about why I was thinking about the whole cornerback position. We didn't go after a cornerback because I think we got our guys. And, J.C. Jackson, if you guys have been paying attention, I mean, we keep talking a lot about it. He looks like a guy that's got a chip on his shoulder, and he wants to prove that he's worth the money in the contract too. And the guy was running on a treadmill looking like he was probably going 17, 18 miles per hour with a freaking blown out patellar tendon. That's big to see. That's huge. And he's over here trying to be Mr. INT once again. And you just imagine having a guy like that's a lockdown corner for us opposite, Michael Davis, opposite Asante Samuel Jr. Jasir Taylor will get involved too. Like, that's going to be a tough situation. If we got a lot of guys on the outside that are just holding the defense and holding their wide receivers, locking everybody down, we're going to get a lot of coverage sacks this year, guys. So I'm really, really rooting for J.C. Jackson to come back. And I remember I was thinking of last year and just kind of being critical on him because he really wasn't being played right last year. Yeah. And something wasn't right. And then obviously his knee went out. I think he's going to come back big, just like what he says right here. He'll return from his injury at 110%. Gonna be big. Gonna be big. So
gonna be
I'm
huge.
excited about it. And I really, really, that's right, baby. Let's go. I'm excited to see J.C. Jackson. And man, I really, really hope he's going to be on field week 1. I really hope he's going to be on field.
I think he will be. He's got 3 more months right before that all happens, man. I think they'll bring it back slow. Yeah, right. And again, I think again, we all know what happened with Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick was all about. Oh, by the way, we're back to between two beards right now too, so that works out as well. Between two beards, here we go.
Oh that's our other show there. That's our other show.
Yeah. Between two beards.
But the one thing I will say is, look, I mean, J.C. Jackson, when he played in Belichick's system, he says, like, this is your guy, lock him down. And he did it. We run a lot of quarters. We run a lot of, which is really not zone. It's like kind of man zone. It's like a hybrid zone. And so, and it's just not what J.C. Jackson did for the Patriots. And so, it's just one of those situations where, he has the opportunity to come back and be better. I think he was a little shocked on how to run Brandon Staley's defense. Hopefully this offseason he's learned a little bit more, and maybe people like Davis and the rest of the coaching staff, Ainsley is going to sit him down and figure out how to get him to be more productive right out of the gate. Right. So yeah, I'm excited. I think, but it's clearly the team did not feel they needed to get more people because we didn't draft anybody, right? We drafted completely other people. And so I think they feel very comfortable with that room, and it is what it is. So
and of course we're very comfortable with the picks that we had too. Cause Tom Telesco didn't try to trade up, didn't try to trade down.
Yeah.
But then he even said that, not a single team called about interest for Austin Ekeler at all during the draft. So it's like, I guess, but that's kind of like how Tom Telesco is though. He's comfortable with the thing he's got. And that's why actually, I think that all the players that we actually have, even undrafted and drafted, they're probably going to make the team. You just look at what happened last year. Some of them actually, they did get released, but then 2 days later they got picked up for practice squads or something like that, or reserve and stuff like that. So it's I think I can assuredly say that the players that we have drafted and undrafted are on the team, just flat out.
Yeah. I was going to say something about, I think it was Richie Richey talking about, one of our undrafteds needs to hit. And I mean, it's interesting because like last year, Dean Leonard was one of our guys last year too. And the thing is, though, in camp, he looked solid. In game, he just couldn't turn his head around. And that was kind of his issue. I mean, if I'm going to sit there and say and look at it and say, hey, look, if they're going to be one of the guys, Tywan Mullen is one of the guys that I've been kind of looking at. I mean, he's a smaller cornerback, 5'10", 180, cousin of Lamar Jackson, has good speed, allows him to play off coverage, man-to-man, so he's very versatile in that sense. That's probably the one guy that I would point out as a cornerback that might make this team. I'm going to say with the J.C. Jackson situation, they say it's a 6 months recovery. He's going to be past 6 months. It's just now, can he feel confident in his knee at that point? That's always the issue of people blowing out their knees or having a knee injury of any sort, feeling confident in their knee. And I think J.C. Jackson's going to be out there. Even to say our top four, Asante, Jackson, Mike Davis, Jasir Taylor, that's a pretty good set of guys. And we could even go after Bryce Callahan still too.
Bring him back.
You could go after him if you wanted to. And we could really create a good solid depth for us all around. And even to say if we don't, we still have Dean Leonard. Well,
not only that, we there's still John Johnson's still out there, right? There was some conversations that I think this is, guys, and just, everyone's happy with their draft, right? Like, we got our guys, we're happy. Now, I think this is where teams now evaluate and say, okay, where can we get one or two more veterans to fill out our team a little more? Kyle Van Noy, right? Yeah. John Johnson, Bryce Callahan. These are other guys we could go after that could potentially, we could pick up and add more depth to this team. And, it's going to push down some of these undrafted free agents even further down the list. But it's not just about them playing for the Chargers. It's also about them getting reps and other teams seeing them and saying, hey, man, like the Texans have a lot of needs, right? A lot of these teams that have not performed well have tons of needs. So just because they don't make the Chargers doesn't mean they can't make another squad as well, too. Yep. So, but I also think the nice thing about bringing this many undrafted free agents, it pushes veterans and it gives us another opportunity to reevaluate these guys internally a little more. And if they don't make a squad, hey, some injuries start happening, we can go pick up their contract. Very simple. So I think it makes a lot of sense. And I know, Larry, we did talk a little bit about Ekeler. Ekeler, I saw him on a podcast. I cannot remember the name of the podcast, and he seems pretty open to the fact that he's going to be playing for the Chargers now. I think he tested free agency, and he's like, yeah, I got kicked right in the dick. That didn't work out. And, he's definitely not – he didn't get what he wanted. And, it is what it is, right? He now understands that nobody cares about running backs in the NFL, and that sucks to say, but that's the truth. And the Rams are one of the landing spots. I think it's still the Bills, Rams, and maybe the Bengals is what I keep hearing, but who knows, right? And I think if you start seeing some, early camp injuries in running backs, then I think that conversation starts heating up more and more. Yeah. But who knows? But again, who knows?
It's one of those things that if we did end up trading him off, like at this point, you'd want to do that probably before the draft.
Yes.
Because then it changes your draft philosophy and your strategy at that point. Doing it kind of at that point of going in the camp with the guys that perceived as, hey, these are going to be our guys, our 90 that we're going to go in with. And we're going to figure out what 90 guys are going to stay on this team. And unless it's like, I only see a trade happening if Isaiah Spiller really makes a jump. Like if he makes a jump and really shows what he did last year in college, if he does that, then you could probably see that happening. But I would feel a little uneasy if they decided to trade off Ekeler without seeing another running back on our team that actually is performing well. That makes me a little nervous. But I don't know. But him saying that he wants to go to the Rams is because he wants to stay where he's at. He doesn't want to go out of LA. He wants to stay in LA.
Doesn't want to move necessarily, but he just wants to. I mean, the biggest thing is he just wants to have his future secured, 3 to 4 years, play until he's like 30 something, and then he's probably done.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I feel like that's like the bigger part of it. Like, and sure, he probably wants, 10 or 12 million a year, but we can't afford that unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, but he's outplaying his contract. Nobody's disagreeing with him on that. It's just that NFL doesn't care about running backs, especially at 28. Like, come on, like you don't give people long-term contracts for that.
Yeah.
It's no.
Yeah.
So it's not going to work, right? So, and again, we love him to death, but again, I think with going back to Kellen Moore, I think he's going to spread the ball around. He's going to be utilizing every weapon, and when you're going to start seeing a lot more motion. I think play action will probably have a part as well too. Kellen Moore, I think I'm going to call him the mad scientist. I think he's going to use people very differently, right? I think you're going to see Horvath in weird situations. You're going to see I just think he's going to be very creative. If you ever watched the Boise State offense when he was there as the quarterback in Boise State, and also, I mean, they were amazing trick plays. They executed so well. And I could just see him bringing a kind of an interesting offense. Mike McCarthy really held him back in Dallas. I don't feel like he allowed him to really run an offense like he wants. Brandon said it was very clear. This is your offense. Do what you want with it. And I don't think he's going to interfere at all. He's going to let Kellen Moore run it. So I'm excited to see that. I think he'll do some really interesting things.
Well, I'm thinking about Kellen Moore. Here's Aether over with the bold prediction. Start the season 7-0. Herbert, 2,345 yards, no INTs, 21 touchdowns. Tom Brady, number. Let's go.
Number. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Number. I've never heard that word before. Okay, cool.
I'll take that all day. That's MVP conversation if that's a point. I mean, the thing about it is, like, this offense is going to be very, very fun to watch. And with our, 6 wide receivers that we have on our team, I mean, we have a very, very deep wide receiving core now. Now, the one thing too,
there you go,
8,000 yards. Let's go.
Wow,
that would be incredible. But the one thing too is, like, going into this offense, and somebody asked, "Hey, are we going to attack that tight end position? Are we going to get anybody in the tight end position?" It seems like they seem very, very good about it with it. They're good with Parham. They're good with Everett. They're good with what we have, and that makes you think a little bit about what Kellen Moore is going to do. Maybe we got guys that actually will be good blockers for us. Trey McKinney maybe is a good blocker for us. Maybe Parham's going to be a better blocker for us. Maybe Everett's going to be a better blocker for us. Or the philosophy of what Kellen Moore has done over at the Cowboys is not going to be the same thing it's done here. And I think that he's done a very good job of finding a way to adjust his offense accordingly to the players that he has on field. And so we might have a totally different system here, and he might actually have a completely different philosophy of how he runs things. So I think it's going to be what it is right now, unless somebody in some level, or maybe somebody gets injured, they're going to end up signing some tight end somewhere, whoever that might be. I don't know. But I think they're pretty content with what's going on.
That game was incredible. Yeah. I think we ran, was it an Eiffel Tower? That's what they ran at the very end to win that game. It was amazing. And just a ballsy play, right? But they executed it. So I think it's Eiffel Tower play, trick play that they ran at the very end. I was right on the goal line, I think, for 2 points. But my gosh, I just sat there. I'm like, look, Kellen Moore wants to light up the scoreboard 100%. And Mike McCarthy was very clearly holding him back. Say, no, run the clock down. I want my defense to take a breather. Brandon Staley doesn't care about that. He's 4th and Staley, dude. All gas, no brakes. He don't care, dude. And so, I mean, go for it, right? And again, you're not going to beat Patrick Mahomes by stopping him. He's not going to be stopped. He's just not, right? Yeah. So you just need to light the scoreboard yourself and say, all right, well, I guess we'll make it a shootout, right? It is what it is. So
straight up basketball game, dude. Keep scoring until the end when you need to make a play.
Exactly. Oh man, that'd be great. Yeah, Gerard Clark is a tight end. Holy smokes, check that out. That'd be great. Well, actually, our boy Matlock. He actually played a little tight end at Boise State as well too. So he scored 2 or 3 touchdowns in Boise State. So, and then Kellen Moore to talk about maybe putting him in there. What you might use him for is the extra blocker, right? Yeah. Sometimes they have the running game sets. He could come in and be that extra blocker, kind of finding a hole in the line. So I can see that happening quite a bit. So
that'd be great, man.
Well, and I think Kyle, you chatted a little bit about Xander potentially getting shifted to like tight end position too.
Yeah,
using him in that sense too. I mean,
that's definitely possible.
I mean, and even to say that could have been the reason why we did not even go after a tight end. Now, this is complete speculation, guys.
Yeah,
complete speculation. Don't over here be like, well, Bolt Bros over here talking about Xander going to be a tight end, blah, blah, blah. No, we're just trying to just say like an idea. I mean, if you saw like his off-season pictures of him working out and how yoked the dude looked, like he could be a beast blocker for us at the fullback position, but fullback position in this entire draft, not one single fullback got drafted in this draft.
Nobody cares about fullbacks.
It's kind of one of those positions that you're like, do we really need him or do we not? It's a luxury or not. What if they shift Xander over to tight end and just utilize him a lot more as a blocker based upon the Kellen Moore type situation? Or you could keep him the title as the fullback if you want, but utilize him as a tight end, like an all-star kind of situation, who knows? I mean, it's interesting to see, but that's the camp situation. We'll find out where they move them around.
Yeah, and we are going to be at camp quite often, guys, as well too. So definitely reach out to us. We plan on being there day one. I know Kyle will be there all the time.
Yeah, probably every weekend as much as I can. Yeah. Unless there's some barbecue going on, maybe I'll do the barbecue instead one of these days.
Yeah, exactly. And we do this because we want to be part of the community and we want to, really communicate with you guys as much as possible. Again, I guess going back to the offense too, I do think that Kellen Moore wants to be creative, and I think he was not able to really be creative with Dallas. And so, and he said as much in the interview. If you watch that interview, he's going to create a Chargers playbook, right? I mean, if you recall, Josh Palmer, when I interviewed him 5 weeks ago, he's like, "Hey, can we get the Cowboys playbook?" He's like, "Why?" He's like, "We're going to create a whole new playbook here for the Chargers, and we have not figured out what that is." So, I think that's the right way to coach an offense and also a defense. You got to look at what you have and what you do well and what you don't do well, and stick with what works. And Again, my biggest frustration with Joe Lombardi last season was we lost Allen, we lost Williams, and they had Bandy out there. Yeah. They had players that are not Allen and Williams to move the sticks, and you have to switch things up with what you have. But I feel like with what really Kellen Moore, at least what I saw from the tape from the Broncos, Cowboys, he is going to take what he has and build an offense around it. So I think it's really exciting. So. Aether, this is a good point. Q, I'm excited. I love this pick over Flowers, my bros, for two reasons. First, we lose Keenan and Mike next season. He'll step in, immediately become second Flower. It's not big like him, and we need big receivers. And obviously, the Chargers like big receivers. They pass up on Flowers, but we got Darius Davis, and Darius Davis is a poor man's version of Zay Flowers and also Tyreek Hill. So. Yeah, and you're right. We're going to lose Allen or Williams next year. We'll probably lose Mack or Bosa next year as well too. One of those, probably two of those four, are going to be gone next season because of Herbert's contract. So
and just to take that step further, and obviously I don't want to dwell too much on next year, but we know what's going to happen next year. It's going to change up a lot of this team.
Yeah.
The thing about it is with the whole Austin Ekeler contract situation, if those players do end up going, say 2 out of the 4 of those players, I mean. There starts to be a possibility of a little bit of money to be able to work with at that point. There is a chance that they could possibly sign Austin Ekeler if they want to for another 2-year contract or whatever it might be. So, I mean, there is that idea of potentially signing him in the offseason too. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out with them. But I do think let's say if we do get rid of, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams next year, Darius Davis, Joshua Palmer become basically the core at that point. Then we could even look at the draft next year and think, okay, what's another wide receiver we want to add to this team?
Exactly correct.
It's kind of a small reset, but I do think Justin Herbert makes receivers better.
Yeah.
Bottom line. And he makes them way better as receivers. So he's one of those guys you could put out there and you could find a guy that will, say DeAndre Carter from last year. DeAndre Carter, he might just look a lot better with our team because of Justin Herbert. So we'll see how he is with the Raiders now with Jimmy G. Totally different quarterback. So I'm excited.
100%. Yeah. And Zach, I think you might be right. I know McKitty has been a bit of a disappointment. I know whenever I hear the coaching staff talk about McKitty, they're like, he needs to get better blocking. We brought him in here for blocking, and he's not really done a good job of that. So – and he drops passes all the time, right? So you never know look, he could even get cut, which would be really weird, but it could happen. I mean, he hasn't been great, right? And that's what kind of sucks, right? So, yeah. And Ricky, you're exactly correct. It's just weird. It was weird the way that Lombardi just kept doing this. I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I'm like, come on, man. Like, you're putting too much emphasis on Justin Herbert to be perfect. If he wasn't perfect, we would lose. And it's like, man, like anyway, I hated Lombardi. Good riddance.
Square over peg in a round hole, constantly.
Yeah,
exactly. And this is a good point, right? The more I learn about Matlock, I actually really like him. I think he could be good, right? I don't think he'll play a lot. He'll probably play special teams a lot, I would assume. He'll probably line up in some sort of special team formations. Who knows? Maybe a little bit on the offensive side as well too. But it'd be really interesting to see. Going through some of your thoughts here. Week 1, Green Bay home opener versus Lions. First division, week 4, Denver at 7. Chiefs by my prediction. Well,
there you go.
A lot of the fans in the Die Hard Bolt Club, Bull Pride 602, like all these different guys and everything like that. They're pretty excited about that Green Bay game, and there's going to be a lot of Chargers fans apparently traveling out to Lambeau Field to see that game. So that'd be kind of cool, and that would actually be probably beneficial for the Chargers to go out there early in the season rather than later in the season when it gets extremely cold. So that would be cool. That'd be cool. Beat Jordan Love. It'd be 2 2020 quarterbacks going at it in Jordan Love's first game as a starting quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. So I think that'd be kind of a cool story.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and Glenn, good point on that too. H-back lines up similar to a tight end, but is set back. And actually, that's a formation that Kellen Moore really does like.
Kellen Moore does that a lot.
Yeah. So good call. And then the Berserker Matlock.
Yeah, I like it.
I think I guess I would say this about our draft, right? I think we have depth. Last year's draft was a lot of depth. I know a lot of people talk about we need more defensive backs. Well, you know what? We drafted 3 defensive backs. Was it 3 defensive backs last season? Because we got Leonard, Taylor, and then also Woods, right?
Yeah.
We haven't even seen Woods out there yet.
Yep.
So and then we got Webb as well. So I really feel like that room is fairly filled out. But those guys need to stay. Relevant. They need to show that they can play during camp, and it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that plays out. So again, Darius Davis is going to be the punt return guy. I would say 100%. I don't think they want Q out there, but you never know. Maybe he'll take a few here and there. But man, Darius Davis is so damn fast, and there's some value for a punt returner being as small as he is because he can kind of weave in and out, and a little hard to pick up. So yeah,
I think it would be really. I mean, seeing Quentin Johnson do a 50-yard touchdown or Darius Davis doing a punt return. I mean, punt returns are really exciting. A 50-yard touchdown, we haven't seen that in a very long time. Last year, I can think of one explosive play, and it was an Austin Ekeler long run that almost was a touchdown against the Browns. That's probably the most explosive play I can think of all last year, to be honest. A lot of yards after catch or carry or whatnot. Very long play. And I mean, Darius Davis has the ability to be able to take the ball to the house pretty frequently. Like what we talked about in college, he had 5 touchdowns for kick returns and punt returns in his career. He has this big play ability all around. And I'm excited to be able to see Darius, to be honest, in my opinion.
Me too.
I'm more excited just seeing a lot of explosive plays with this offense because last year was just pitiful in explosive plays.
Well, we were dead last in explosive plays.
It was terrible.
Yeah. Dead last.
Yep.
We were dead last, guys.
Plays over 20 yards was the lowest in all the league. Yeah.
And Ricky's saying it perfectly here that with the cannon that Justin Herbert has, again, we all know he had injuries, right? His ribs and everything, right? But Austin Ekeler said specifically on the podcast, he said, why aren't you throwing the ball downfield? He says, we don't have an explosive guy downfield. We just don't have that guy. When Guyton went down, that was a bigger problem than a lot of people thought it was at that exact moment, right? So Yeah, it's look, Davis is going to be big. Q is going to be big. Now we got Guyton back. I think there's going to be a lot of rotation, so it'll be interesting. And Zach, you're exactly right. We might have three wide receivers that have 1,000 yards. I mean, which would be crazy, but it could happen. Yeah. Man. Yeah, and you're right. Xander is a tight end. By the way, he was a converted linebacker as well, too, right? So he was a linebacker. And he's a lot like a Tyler Algier, from BYU that went to the Falcons and converted linebacker, did really well. Again, the other reason why I think we probably didn't get a running back is you could just make Xander Horvath a running back, right? I mean, the guy is a big dude, right? And you want that 1 or 2 yards. He's probably the right guy to get those yards. I do think we'll also see more 2 tight ends or 2 running back sets as well. That could happen a lot more this season with the Chargers. So.
Yep. No, most definitely.
Oh, we got some questions in here too. So, all right. I know.
Aether had this one here.
Here we go. Yeah.
This one's to you. Yeah.
Who's taking this one?
This is to Andrew, actually.
Oh.
Okay. Oh, it's me. Okay. All right. So, can you explain to me why the Chargers will not go back to San Diego? I'm confused. You said something about money in the past. They stay in LA. Well, they pay what, $10 a year, Kyle, to play in the Ram Stadium?
Yeah. I think it's like $1 a year or something.
Yeah.
It's like $10. Yeah, it's like $10 now. So it's a very nice place for the Chargers to be, just from a place perspective, right? Because San Diego wasn't going to give them land for a stadium, but then secondarily, the team value is actually, I think, gone up about $500 million for the Spanoses, right? Because moving to San Diego, right? He didn't have to pay $5 billion to build that stadium. Now Rams take a lot of that revenue from Chargers ticket sales as well too. But again, the team as a whole, franchise-wise, is worth more. Plus, I think it's a 30-year contract, Kyle, something like that?
20, I believe. So a
20-year contract. Yeah.
But
very long contract.
They're looking at like 2035 or whatever is when the contract is up.
Okay.
For them to potentially go there. But they're building that new practice facility here, and it's going to be up next year. They're spending about $300 million on that one. It's going to be freaking sick, bro.
It's going to be a really cool facility.
Yeah.
And the one thing too, with the whole San Diego move, they had to pay $550 million to be able to even make that move from San Diego to LA. And they pay that over like a 30-year period that gets incremented out to the teams in the NFL or some weird thing like that, where they pay it out and basically each team in the league gets a little bit of money from that. It's really, really weird. But even to go back further on that, the Chargers, city of San Diego, only voted 1 zip code in downtown San Diego to be able to even try to get them to be able to get a stadium. And it didn't go through, obviously. And then the city of San Diego is like, all right, I guess we're not going to get you guys a stadium kind of thing. It should have been a county-wide vote, not basically an individual zip code. I think the city of San Diego dropped the ball on that. You could say the Spanos has kind of dropped the ball, just throw a little bit more money because the NFL did put money out there. The city of San Diego did put a little bit of money out there. It was just the Spanoses didn't want to put in a little bit of extra more money to be able to do that. They decided, hey, let's go to LA. And once again, business move, it made the value of the team much higher just going to LA versus staying.
So I'll say this. So I've talked to a fellow in Thunder Alley. His name's Charles. He goes to every single game, and I think he's in his whole life he's only missed like maybe 4 games. So he's dedicated, and he actually went to one of the meetings in San Diego where the Papa Spanos was there asking for the city of San Diego to build a new stadium, and he was going to offer up the entire cost for the new stadium. All he asked for in return from the city of San Diego is 60 acres of land that he can use for his development purposes for 20 years in the lease or whatever, for whatever he needed to do. Do you know what San Diego said to him?
No.
Why should we give you anything?
Yeah.
It's it's like, wait, he's going to build a whole new stadium. They don't have to do anything. And all just give him some land, but he straight up just asked that, just said that they didn't want it. And so Charles, he said to me, he's like, that's when he knew that any deal in San Diego was dead in the water because they just wasn't going to happen. So it's just like ridiculous. And so like, that's, the sad part about everything.
It really is. And Yeah, bottom line, it's tough, right? I see a lot of San Diego natives. I mean, we grew up in San Diego as kids, and it was hard for us to see them leave. I remember when they moved, we were like, well, are we still going to be Charger fans? I mean, what's the situation? We kind of had a little gut check, right? And so, look, it's tough, man. All right, well, let's go to Zach's question. Considering a cap hit next year, this might be Telesco's best offseason yet. The team feels more complete than last year, and there's no buzz. Herbert could have a historic season. I do not disagree with you. I think you're exactly spot on. I think last year's draft was good depth. Even the year before that was good depth. We got a lot of veterans, and we got a lot of young guys behind those veterans that can step up, because I do think there's going to be a lot of people gone next season, right? Mac Bosa, Allen Williams, maybe even, oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank on his name? Austin Johnson on the defensive line. We might start freeing up some of the salary cap stuff and let these younger players step in. And I think that could happen a lot sooner than we think. We could even see some surprising cuts this spring, right? So you never really know, man. And but one thing I will say about Spanos, so right now, guys, a lot of people make this comment that he doesn't spend money. We are currently spending the maximum amount of money.
Quite a bit of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
We are spending money, guys. And so, the argument I always said, I'm like, dude, he's too cheap. He's too cheap. No, he's blowing money left and right. He really is, and so, it's tough. It's tough. And H4, one of the things I'd say about this as well, too, in Staley's defense, the safety is an extremely difficult position. I think that's a partially reason why Nas actually retired. He was tired of just making mistakes and couldn't quite pick it up. And he made enough money. I'm done. Fine. And it is what it is. Right. So, I don't know. I feel like they're happy with the safeties they have now. Lowe played well enough, but I would like to see JT Wood step up in some dime formations and do a little more. So we'll see how that is.
Yeah, exactly. And it's always still interesting to me to see how our defense played better when Derwin James was not on the field. Yeah. And that's kind of a wild thought to me, because it's like, okay, wait, so maybe they're just assigning too many things for the safeties to do.
Correct.
And so because if Derwin James got to like fill this position, if this, that, and or this other thing happens, that's just too much to process, So it's like, so just like you give people assignments, and maybe that's Staley's deal works better and stuff, because that's what they always say is that's we've beat this horse a lot, or pounded this drum that maybe Derwin James is potentially he's out there trying to accomplish too many things, and all the other players are considerate, like, okay, well he covers this, he's covering this, he's covering but it's like, no, he needs to cover this, and then everyone else knows what they got,
and again, Brandon Staley does not run a very easy defense, right? I think Bill Belichick runs a very simple defense, right? I mean, J.C. Jackson is a great example of that, right? This is your guy, blanket him, do not let him get the ball. That's it. And that's just not Brandon Staley's defense. And so it's tough, right? And safety is even the hardest position, right? So you have to be smart, you have to be fast, and they like somebody tall. JT Woods, I believe, led the NCAA in interceptions at Baylor, if I remember correctly. So he's a ball hawk. He just didn't quite translate it to the NFL. He was a bad tackler, is what we saw.
Sure.
So Aether, I'm 47. I'm going to die before 50. Killing would be Herbert's deal. Lamar got paid, get about $320 million for 5 years, $64 million a year. I'm going to die without Herbert. Yeah, they're going to pay. Look, he got his extension. He's getting paid $29 million a year right now. $29.5 million is what Herbert's getting paid now, since he picked up his 5th-year extension. But again, I was actually going to do a short video on this as well too. They are still negotiating his longer-term contract. But I think the league now and most of these agents like smaller 5-year, 6-year deals, because then they can renegotiate again, right? Because Herbert's only 24, 25 right now, something like that. So he can renegotiate when he's 28 and get another 5 years at like $70 million a year, right? When the salary cap keeps moving up. So he just keeps getting paid more and more money, right? So it's interesting. It's interesting how that's playing out for sure.
Yep. I thought it was funny that Larry basically threw out the candles on him. got a vigil over here or whatever. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, man, Chargers kill all of us, man. I mean, how many times have we talked about the Chargers and having the hype train on them and being like, this is going to be the team. And then what do? They find a way to be able to just crush our souls once again. And
wet the bed.
That's just being a Charger fan, bottom line. But I'm going to be here till we figure it all out and we end up becoming a dynasty. And I'm going to be still here sticking with this team through the thick and thin. And we've gone through a lot with this team. And there's no reason for me to be able to duck out on this team. It's only reason for me to be able to stick around and tell everybody, hey, Chargers are Super Bowl champions. And I would love to be able to see that. And that gives me goosebumps even thinking about that.
Yeah, I know, man.
And that's I cannot wait for that to happen. And I'm excited for Justin Herbert to hold up the Lombardi this year. Let's go. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So I know we're a little over an hour now. So maybe we should wrap up our final thoughts and then go from there. So maybe James, then Kyle, then I could wrap up, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, final thoughts. So just the schedule this year, I keep thinking a little bit about the schedule, and I think that we're probably going to end up having about 4 primetime games this year, probably between the AFC West. Possibly the Jets seem to be kind of where they're trying to point that as a primetime game for Monday night. But I do think that we're going to have an overseas game too. I feel very strongly it's going to be the Titans this year. But I'm really, really looking forward to this season because I think we kind of have a team that finally has a lot of depth all around, and a team that's going to be able to build just for this season to be very, very strong as a team all throughout, but also have guys that are going to be ready to go for next season too. So, hey, thanks once again for the like on the stream, by the way.
Yeah,
I can't remember the name.
Like button.
That was my buddy Thomas, actually. Yeah,
Thomas, what's up, Thomas?
Smashing that like button, folks, please. Yeah, it does help the channel.
But bottom line, I'm excited about this season, man. And I mean, Kyle put a video out of just talking about dreaming about what's happening at SoFi and the game and the players running out of the tunnel and thinking about that every day. And I mean, literally, I'm still thinking, man, we're like almost mid-May. Like, training camp starts in July. Like, we're getting close, guys. Like, I'm just ready for the season. I am ready for this, but
that's right.
Let's go. Let's get this Super Bowl this year. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So for me, I think that the schedule, I think we're probably going to have about 4 primetime games. Because, I can definitely see Jets because we want to see the Aaron Rodgers one. We want to see, I want to see the Bills that'd probably be a primetime game, and probably one of the Chiefs games because this, it's just the Chiefs. That's just what they do. You look at it like, I mean, who's the most exciting players to watch in the AFC West? It's Herbert and Mahomes, Russell Wilson and Garoppolo, porn star, it's whatever. Like I've heard a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people say that Garoppolo is just like David Carr, but gets injured more. So it's it's whatever, we may see also Lamar Jackson at a primetime game with us. So, but then the bigger question is too, a lot of people are saying that we may go to Germany for an international game against the Chiefs. But the rumors aren't kind of favoring that right now. And then the other one is like that we were talking about, that potentially the Titans game could be the one that we go to for London. Which would be cool. Honestly, hey bros, if that happens, we should make it happen.
Sick. That would be sick.
Let's freaking go, dude. Yeah.
We were talking about that cruise, boys. From Seattle all the way to London. It's like a 20-day cruise.
Oh, there you go. Oh, we'd miss some football if we do that though, bro.
Yeah, that's true. I know that's partially why I don't know if I can make that happen.
Unless it's a bye week beforehand, that would be pretty sick. Yeah.
Unless the boat got an NFL ticket, dude. Unless the boat got an NFL ticket.
Well, it's gotta have the NFL ticket.
No, it does. Yeah, well, there's usually a bar, sports bar, or whatever like that. They're on the boats. Yeah. So
and again, go ahead.
I was just gonna move on to the draft and the undrafted. So like, I feel like, actually, I would say this, including the undrafted free agents that we got, or whatever, to kind of give us a more well-rounded idea of what we did. I would say we probably got like I would say would move it up to a B plus probably. Because we did do a lot with the undrafted players that added a whole lot more depth to our team and actually did a lot of things that people were wanting by getting cornerbacks and getting running backs and stuff. So we may actually see some of those people involved a lot more.
Right.
And we actually got a tight end in the mix as well. So I'm excited to see that. And guess what, fellas? We actually may have someone to talk to this week. One of the actual players. So I'm excited to see that. So
that'd be awesome.
Midweek, because rookie training camp starts this week. It's
it
like
does.
So like all the players are going to get going, and we actually might get one of those too. Like things are developing and they're working in our favor here, so we're going to get somebody to talk to. So this will be exciting. I'm really excited about it. So
me too. That's great.
Yeah,
and I think bottom line, guys, I know I have asked, I swear, to 50 people about the draft, and I'm a nerd. I talk about this stuff all the time. We all, that's all we talk about all day is Chargers. And even in the offseason, that's what we talk about. But again, I really think this draft makes a lot of sense. Again, I'm going to be doing a whole series on the actual draft picks, just real quick thoughts on it, kind of short form videos, and then also talk a little bit about some undrafted free agents I think actually have a good shot at making it. But again, I still stick to my B+. I think it's good depth. They filled needs. They were strategic. They also are planning ahead, knowing that Allen and Williams and Mack and Bosa are not going to be on the team probably after this year, right? So they need to start filling those positions cheaply, right? Because we're going to be paying Herbert a ton of money, and we finally will give him a big contract. That's I think he will be the highest paid quarterback in the National League, or the NFL National League, NFL. I'm thinking baseball right now. Yeah, wrong sport. But again, it's exciting to see what this team is. I just hope to God we can stay healthy. And maybe, James, we should do a video on our new training staff, right? Because that's really – it'd be very interesting to see if we can stay healthy this season. That's the thing that matters to me more than anything. So, I don't know. I'm just excited for the season. And I think it was a great draft. I think I look back on it and go, wow, that was perfect. And it gave me confidence on our coaching staff as well, too, because – you can see the method to the madness. You can understand why they got these players. Yes, they might have wanted some other players. I think they would have gotten a tight end if they were available, but they weren't. The ones that they wanted were not available. So, they got the next best thing or best available player through the entire draft, but it makes perfect sense, right? So, it's awesome. Oh, and 619, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the donation. I really appreciate you.
And thank you. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, brother. Hey, appreciate you just coming in here and supporting us, dude, and coming in here on our lives and everything and saying what up, dude. So we appreciate you, brother.
100%, man. Thank you so much. Oh, there we go. Sick. Look at that. Look at that celly phone. What's up? Get that bad boy.
We got phone check.
I like that. All righty, guys. Well, we're Andrew, James, Kyle, Bolt Bros. Wait, who's hitting the button? Come on now. We always have this conversation. We don't want to hit the button twice.
I got to
make sure it's set up
correctly.
I
got you. I got to do better. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. We got Bolt Bros here. Let's go.
Let's go.